Good morning, I'm Wendy Burke and this is the CBC Morning Report for Thursday, October 7th. In our top story, Barbados and the Republic of Kenya continue to forge bonds as visiting President of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, has been presented with a national honor for his commitment to global trade and efforts to strengthen cooperation and friendship between the two nations. More in this report from Aaliyah Briggs.
Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta was today conferred a national honor for his outstanding global leadership and efforts to strengthen bonds of cooperation and friendship between the Republic of Kenya and Barbados. The Order of Freedom of Barbados was presented by Governor General Dame Sandra Mason. While expressing gratitude for the great honor, President Kenyatta says this moment indicates a bright future for relations between Africa, Barbados, and the Caribbean diaspora.
This is not just an honor for me as an individual, but really a great sign of the growing collaboration between Kenya and Barbados and the work that myself and my sister Mia Motley have done to strengthen the ties between Africa and the CARICOM region.
While reflecting on the devastating global impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, President Kenyatta says the African and Caribbean community must unite to address global challenges. The national honor was bestowed in the presence of Prime Minister Mia Motley, who spoke to efforts to explore linkages in the areas of trade, finance and tourism.
Working together in the area of the financial services, the governor of the Central Bank of Kenya is here. We have local companies and credit unions that are already in discussions with the Kenya Commercial Bank about various aspects of services. Kenya, as you know, is the leader in the world on the M-Pesa, which is the digital currency. We also have persons who are talking together about joint marketing for tourism between people who tend to go to Kenya for safari are the same people who come to Barbados at the higher end for beaches and vacations. So we believe that there's an opportunity for joint marketing of our two destinations.
President Uhuru Kenyatta is the first son of the founding president of Kenya, Jomo Kenyatta. Aaliyah Briggs, CBC News.
Local youth have added their voices and visions for global trade and development. They handed over the UNCTAD 15th Youth Declaration to UNCTAD Secretary General Rebecca Greenspan at the Lloyders Sandiford Center yesterday, the penultimate day of the conference. CBC's Leanne Phillips tells us more.
The Youth Declaration document was compiled from the discussions between 600 young people from 72 different countries during last month's virtual youth forum. Organizer Leandre Knight speaks about its purpose.
This document serves as a culmination of hours of dialogue between hundreds of youth from around the world, representing multiple countries and cultures. It contains the main points that we deem youth as important, and for us to ensure a future prosperous for all young people.
Noting many issues were covered during last month's youth forum, lead organizer Roshana Trim is again stressing the importance of collaborations and partnerships.
In order for us to pull up and change the rhythm as the youth forum was themed, and in order for us to leave no one behind, it is important that everyone be involved, regardless of who you are or where you are from. It is no longer possible or acceptable for us to leave persons behind based on their gender, religion, their country of origin, where they are born, or who they are. Because persons are entitled to thrive simply by virtue of being human and for no other reason.
And leaders, including Prime Minister Mia Motley and UNCTAD Secretary General Rebecca Greenspan, have pledged to take the document seriously.
You will allow me to say how very proud, Secretary General, I am of these young people for their eloquence, but more importantly than even the eloquence, for their hard work in making this consultation with over 600 young people across 72 countries come off. So I know that you will treat it with the respect that they deserve, and I will certainly treat it with the respect that it deserves as well.
Believe me, we will take this very seriously. And great job done at bringing all those young people to give us their take of what they want from us, from this UNCTAD 15 conference. So we really hope this will help us.
Rianne Phillips, CBC News.
Next on CBC Morning Report, updates on the COVID-19 pandemic. For the second consecutive day, Barbados has registered 300 or more new positive COVID-19 cases. Monday, there were 318, and now there were 300 on Tuesday. 125 males and 175 females identified by the Best Dos Santos Public Health Laboratory. Those 300 came out of 2,349 tests that were conducted. The new cases comprise 50 people under the age of 18. There are now 803 people in isolation facilities. This figure does not include those persons isolating at home. Meanwhile, under the National Vaccination Program, 139,644 people have received their first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine, while 108,963 people are fully vaccinated. The Barbados Defense Force has been providing a range of services to the country in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. There are 8 areas which range from port screening to logistical support at the isolation and quarantine facilities. And the Army has also been involved in UNCTAD 15, which comes to a close today. Joining us to discuss the role of the Army in the management of the COVID-19 in Barbados is Lieutenant Colonel Carlos Lovell. Good morning to you, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Ms. Burke, and good morning to our viewers. It is indeed a pleasure to be here with you today on the Morning Report.
Okay, given the level of involvement of the Army, how many soldiers roughly have you assigned to COVID management? And after that assignment, are there enough to handle any other requests or disasters which may come into you?
I smile because that's a very interesting question, Ms. Burke, one that I'm sure that many Barbadians ponder. In order to execute our primary mandate of national defense, the force has evolved into a multidimensional, flexible, and highly adaptive organization. Our security mandate is no longer focused on boots and bullets, but has also expanded to protect Barbadians against all types of threats, including the ravages of the current pandemic. This flexibility has allowed the force to adapt to the dictates of the current pandemic and to deliver the necessary support to the government and people of Barbados in roles which you so quite aptly articulated earlier. We've mobilized for over 18 months in what we refer to as Operation Trident Shield, which is the name given to the force's contribution to the national COVID fight. Notwithstanding the fact that we've deployed up to 75 to 100 soldiers daily during this effort, the fight against COVID continues to be a difficult and challenging one, and it continues to be a team effort, whether every member of the force works directly on the front lines or performs a supporting role. To address the second part of your question, the members of the Barbados Defense Force stand ready to respond to any eventuality which may require a military response. Though these may range from law enforcement to natural disasters, the BDF remains capable of delivering a robust and effective response, even as Barbados grapples with this awful pandemic.
Okay, let's,
Furthermore,
uh-huh. I want to look now at some specific areas and the roles that you play. From the screening and testing, that's pretty straightforward. We see you at the gymnasium. We've been seeing Major David Clark, who's familiar to us all, doing the various community testing. But let's look now at the logistical support that you've been given for isolation, quarantine, as well as the whole issue of transport and meals.
yeah, so another very good question. Some persons may know that logistics and operational planning are two key strengths of the military, and it's for this reason why the BDF has been employed in these roles to support the effort. The two main ways in which we supported this COVID effort are the transportation of COVID patients to isolation facilities and the maintenance of a major quarantine facility at Paragon Base. When the Paragon Base quarantine facility was in operation, BDF provided meals for hundreds and I would say probably thousands of clients who were housed there over a general period of time. Additionally, incoming passengers who chose to quarantine at Paragon also were transported by the BDF to and from the facility. However, this approach eventually evolved and ceased as the national system improved. As the requirement for testing and isolation ebbed and flowed, our field medical facility was deployed on several occasions to locations such as the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, Parsons Point Isolation Facility, and the Garfield Sobers Gymnasium. This was necessary to increase the national capacity to accommodate swab testing and even housing patients.
Okay.
Barbadians may be
Now, the role, you have liaison officers and even statisticians. How does that process flow?
Well, these functionaries perform critical roles and are key to the national effort. The liaison officers are responsible for maintaining effective communication and coordination between the Ministry of Health and the Barbados Defence Force. The liaison officers are stationed at the Ministry of Health and they send that information on a daily basis back to the BDF so that we can mobilize. The liaison officer advises the Ministry of Health on our capabilities and thereafter communicates various tasks and information to help the BDF execute our various roles. The statisticians are another group of unsung heroes, so to speak, who use their analytical skills to provide timely, accurate, and comprehensive information. The statistics which they gather is decision making and helps to identify patterns which our public health officials need to be aware of. This information is invariably used to devise better public health plans and anticipate dangerous trends which may need to be mitigated.
Okay. Tell us, in terms of your deep involvement in the pandemic fight, what's your vaccination level like for the soldiers and how often do they have to be tested? Because you mentioned deployment of, say, up to 100 a day. So, like, how often do they require being tested?
To answer your last question first, members of the force are tested according to their level of exposure. For example, a medic may be tested more often than a cook, for example. These tests are done on exposure, on the level of exposure, on request, or if members of the force exhibit COVID-like symptoms. Our medics and drivers can sometimes be tested as often as once or twice weekly, while the remainder of the force are tested as required. The vaccination levels of the force, basically an interesting and contentious topic within the BDF and for the wider Barbadian society. Though our rates of vaccination are significantly higher than the national average, HQ BDF is employing several robust strategies of encouragement, education, and vaccine awareness to increase our rates to 100%.
Okay. If there is contraction of the virus within one of the units you have, how do you go about handling that to ensure that there's no rapid spread?
Right, so containment and isolation are the two key elements of our containment plan. The key part of this containment plan is that persons who are secondary and primary contacts, as identified by our contact tracing teams, are isolated, tested, and retested before they are cleared to rejoin the ranks within the force. Should any members of the force test positive, they are subject to the same isolation as the general public. However, the headquarters of the Barbados Defence Force employs the full extent of our resources to aid in their recovery and their seamless reintegration into the force. In
Okay.
accordance with best practices,
The final question to you now before we wrap up. The Army has been playing a role in UNCTAD, not only in terms of the formalities of it, but also in terms of the whole testing and handling of those dignitaries who would have come. Walk us through it.
so the UNCTAD event historic for Barbados, and the Barbados Defense Force has played a significant role. We have supported the Royal Barbados Police Force with security arrangements in terms of providing a robust security response where necessary. We've also provided logistics support in transporting, helping to protect these dignitaries, transport them to and from the various destinations. And on the more ceremonial side of the house, we have provided a guard of honor to provide military welcome to these heads of state to Barbados. And we've also been able to support from a cyber standpoint to ensure that the conference runs as smoothly as it should.
Okay, and any other things that you're doing that we're not aware of in this file?
Well, for UNCTAD, we have been working closely with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. Some of the roles that we've been playing, I would not wish to go into at this time, but I can assure you that all hands are on deck to ensure that this UNCTAD event is a successful one for Barbados and sets the tone for future international events such as these in Barbados.
Okay, I want to thank you very much, Lieutenant Colonel Carlos Lovell, for joining us, and I wish you and all of your soldiers safety as you continue to help Barbados in the fight against COVID-19.
Thank you, and same to you as well.
The President of the Senate in Grenada, Chester Humphrey, has voiced his support of mandatory vaccination. He says employers have a right to mandate vaccination within their establishments.
For those who hold the view that your contract of employment can be changed in order to take into consideration a new situation which neither you nor the employer could have anticipated at the time when you engage in collective bargaining, and that for only new hires you can apply this. Again, not wanting to use offensive language, that's really just a lot of nonsense. And that an employer certainly can, and I repeat, an employer should, and I will encourage an employer to.
Belize has received more COVID-19 vaccines from its neighbor Mexico. The latest shipment of 100,000 is added to a previous shipment in June of the same amount. Minister of Health Michelle Shabat says the gift is very welcomed indeed.
It is Mexico's second donation of 100,000 AstraZeneca vaccines. Back in June, as you will recall, we had gotten 100,000, and that really opened up the door for us so that we could have opened to all Belizeans to get vaccinated. Prior to that, you know, we had to reserve what we had for the more vulnerable persons in our society. But with that first donation, we then opened it up to everyone. And this second donation is now going to help us for second doses, and we're going to have some over for those who wish to get a first dose. So this is very timely, and you know, we are grateful to the Mexican government and people for this donation.
It's time now for a preview of what's coming up on Morning Barbados. And for that, we say good morning to Pearson, Casey, and Bowen.
Ah, not bad, Casey, and I like the sound of that. Good morning to you, Wendy Clotilda Burke. Wonderful having you. Thank you for joining. What do you think of your name today?
I don't think that one fits me.
And
Clotilda sounds like it would add another 50 pounds or so on me, you know?
Maybe that's something that is in your future. You never know.
It might be.
All right. Well, today is Thursday, so today, as usual, we're looking at our exceptional youth. You meet a young girl who, at 2 years old, said she had enough of daycare. At 3 years old, she said she had enough of day nursery, so she wants to be in primary school. And now she's 9 years old, and she's in secondary school. We'll meet her and walk the journey with her as well. We'll also meet a young man who is determined to be an entrepreneur, so he's opened his own transportation business. That must have been a little bit difficult to start up, so we'll talk about that experience for him as well. And we'll also meet a young girl, or young woman, who has been a qualified cosmetologist, but she is now the managing funeral director of her own business. Those are just a little bit of what we'll be introducing you to right here on Morning Barbados at 6:30. Until then, Clotilda, it's back to you.
Well, Cassian, we'll see you at the bottom of the hour, and I'm looking forward to see how that esthetician has married her services with the whole side of undertaking and so on. We'll take another break and return with more news. Calls from desperate parents seeking help for their children, some as young as 7 years old, have prompted a local non-governmental organization to set up a mental health hotline. Senior Counselor and Service Coordinator at the Center for Counseling Addiction Support Alternative, or CASA, Cheryl Griffith, says there's been a significant increase in the number of calls to CASA seeking help because of the stress caused by various factors related to the COVID-19 pandemic. People with issues like anxiety, stress, and depression can call the hotline.
When we answered the telephone, we recognized that people were, well, some of them were really suicidal. Some had young persons who they said their children want to harm themselves. I mean children from 8 years old, from 7 years old, across the spectrum. So we recognize that there is a need. We can't let these children fall by the wayside, because it's going to affect the parents, the families, the schools. We had to look at this situation and we realized that persons were calling because they were unemployed.
The hotline will be manned by 2 trained CASA volunteers 7 days per week from 5 p.m. until 11 for at least a year. Sarah Sinnette, who is in charge of the hotline, says they're hoping to run beyond the year while adding texting and other contact services. But CASA will need an injection of funds to do this.
It's important to know that the helpline will be confidential. Anything that it says on the call will remain anonymous and confidential. The only times that will be reportable if someone is in dire need or at harm to themselves or at risk of harming others. We would also have to report any cases of sexual abuse and so forth. But aside from that, the helpline will be confidential and anonymous. Unless callers wish to give that personal information, that's fine. But the idea is to help continue to break stigma around mental health in Barbados, to start having conversations about mental health. It's really important actually we have these conversations so more people can access help. We know that times are hard and people are struggling.
Barbados, with the embrace of the online learning environment, is working to ensure no student is left behind. Training in digital education is being offered to teachers, which Minister of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, Santia Bradshaw, says caters to individual differences and various learning styles. She notes challenging teachers to be more digitally aware and strengthening their technological competencies not only assist them, but also benefit students.
Not only as 21st century educators, but allows them to better equip our students with the skills and the capabilities they too will need to navigate this new world, a thriving world on exciting technologies like robotics, virtual reality, and artificial intelligence, amongst others. To this end, at the Ministry of Education, Our coding and robotics program across our nursery, primary, secondary, and tertiary institutions is today representative of a pivotal component of curricular reimagination. This will be followed by other reform initiatives to be rolled out as our Education Reform Unit continues to spearhead various system-wide reforms.
Minister Bradshaw was at the time addressing the launch of Education Month, which began with the church service at the Harvest Bible Chapel. The month is being observed under the theme Education Reimagined, exploring new frontiers for teaching, learning, and national development in the 21st century. Ms. Bradshaw says the theme speaks to the dynamic nature of education, as it should never be allowed to become static.
But who will propel this change and this reimagination? Education cannot act on its own, but instead requires that each of us, at every level across the system, remains committed to getting the task done as we strive towards the creation and implementation of viable policy initiatives needed for a sustainable future. While we applaud the well-known roots of our educational system and all that it has been able to accomplish in terms of the development of our human capital, we must also acknowledge that the Barbados that was handed the gift of free education in the 20th century is not the Barbados of 2021.
The World Health Organization says the only approved vaccine against malaria should be widely given to African children, marking a major advance against a disease that kills hundreds of thousands of people annually. Malaria is far more deadly than COVID-19 in Africa. According to a WHO estimate, it killed 386,000 Africans in 2019, compared with 212,000 confirmed deaths from COVID-19 in the past 18 months.
It's been tested in 3 African countries since 2019 and is being recommended for children. Malaria is the main cause of childhood illness and death in sub-Saharan Africa. More than 260,000 African children under the age of 5 die every year from the disease.
As some of you may know, I started my career as a malaria researcher, and I longed for the day that we would have an effective vaccine against this ancient and terrible disease. And today is that day, an historic day. Today, WHO is recommending the broad use of the world's first malaria vaccine.
Let's speak to Al Jazeera's Nicholas Hack live in Dakar, Senegal. Nick, the WHO calling this a historic day, but this is not the only vaccine that's been trialed. What difference is it going to make in the fight against malaria on the continent?
It is significant that there's a vaccine rubber stamped by the WHO. That means that GlaxoSmithKline, the ones that have developed this vaccine, will try to make it available in countries where people, and mostly children, are dying of malaria. Remember, this is the most deadly infectious disease in many countries in Africa. And what's interesting, in the words of WHO, it's a vaccine that has been developed by Africans for Africans, the results of decades of research and work to try to find a solution to this deadly parasite that has killed millions of people, mostly children. About 2.19 million doses of this vaccine were dispersed since 2019 in the country of Ghana, Kenya, and Malawi. So it's a result of all of that research. Now, the results of this shows that the vaccine itself on its own only gives 35% efficacy. But if you combine it with anti-malarial, then that bumps up to 70%. And it seems that the World Health Organization has learned its lesson from the COVID outbreak and the speed in which it distributed COVID vaccine. In the past, to get a vaccine approved would take decades. And we've seen now that they're speed tracking this in order to save people's lives.
Jason Holder and the bottom-placed Sunrisers Hyderabad won their 3rd game of this year's Indian Premier League with a 4-run victory over Royal Challengers Bangalore yesterday in Abu Dhabi. Jason Roy hit 44 off 38 balls as Sunrisers posted 141 for 7 from 20 overs. Captain Kane Williamson added 31 and Holder 16. Leading from the final over, RCB fell short of the target on 137 for 6, despite Glenn Maxwell's 40. Holder took 1 for 27. And it's over to you now, Pearson, for... Well, yes, before I get to Pearson, we'll look at the weather picture. Outside is currently 25.4 degrees Celsius and fair, but it feels like 34. Humidity at 91% and the barometric pressure 13.9 millibars. The winds east-southeast 26 kilometers an hour. Tides at 10:04 a.m., the first low tide, the second at 10:31 p.m. High tide will be at 18 minutes past 4 this evening. If you're heading to the beach, the sea is expected to be moderate in open water with swells ranging from 1.5 to 2 meters and increasing. The forecast, mostly cloudy with breaks of sunshine with the occasional intermittent widely scattered light to moderate showers and a chance of isolated thunderstorms. Tonight will be a mix of clear skies and clouds with a few intermittent widely scattered light showers. Here's now a look at the international cities. And it's finally over to you now, Pearson. You can join us again at noon for Newsday for our next newscast. Here now is Pearson Cassian Bowen and Morning Barbados.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today, Thursday, the 7th of October, 2021. I am Pearson Cassian Bowen, as you would have heard a little earlier on, thanks to my friend Wendy Clotilda Burke. And thank you all for joining us as well right here on Morning Barbados. To those of you in Barbados, thank you for your company. And those of you across the globe as well, welcome to our YouTube channel. Welcome to our Facebook streams as well. Remember, tell someone about us. Let them to share in what we do every morning from 6:30 right through till 8 o'clock here on CBC TV at Beijing TV. This morning is Thursday, so this morning it makes it Exceptional Youth Day. One of those who you'll be meeting today is a brainchild behind the Femme Let's cohort, which brings together young professional lawyers from across the region to enable them to become entrepreneurs in their own chosen fields as well. We'll catch up with Gabrielle Gay as she walks us behind the rationale behind that. Also, we'll meet today a young Barbadian woman who is what is called the Prime Minister of the Hay Parliament, and we'll want to hear from her too about her recent trip away to Milan, Italy, and what are some of the outcomes from that particular encounter. Let's get started though by looking at a very serious subject though, CPR, cardiopulmonary resuscitation. Joining us to talk a little bit more about that is Dr. Anne-Marie Cruikshank, who is the Medical Director of Emergency Cardiac Care Department. Good morning to you, Dr. Cruikshank.
Hi, good morning, Pearson.
How are you doing today, ma'am?
I'm doing good.
Good to have you. A lot of people don't quite understand the necessity to know about CPR. So could you squarely put that for us so that we understand how critical it is for us to know about CPR?
CPR is extremely important. First of all, CPR is a life-saving emergency procedure where the rescuer combines chest compressions with breaths to a victim who is not breathing and doesn't have a pulse. That is, they're in cardiac arrest. And by doing CPR, we can actually save the lives of so many persons. So that's why we at the Heart and Stroke celebrate October as CPR month.
What's the incidence of heart failure that would require one to jump to that skill set to use?
Studies have shown in Barbados there's at least one heart attack per day in Barbados. And we know that heart attacks can lead to cardiac arrest. So therefore, if at least every member in the household in Barbados knows CPR, you can be saving your family member, you can be saving a friend. And that's why we emphasize the importance of CPR.
It starts with, I suppose, lifestyle. And naturally what you eat, what level of exercise you engage in day out, would also aid in avoiding one presenting with heart failure of some sort. Would that be true? And if so, how would you implore Barbadians then to adopt a more healthy lifestyle?
Pearson, the Heart and Strokes, one of the Heart and Strokes mandate is healthy lifestyle. We emphasize that tremendously because we know that unhealthy lifestyle leads to all the complications that we're seeing, especially the cardiac arrest, and just the diabetes, the hypertension, the obesity that we're seeing. So we emphasize emphatically a healthy lifestyle, exercise, and once again, getting back to learning CPR,
yes,
if, God forbid, a cardiac event occurs.
Now, what is it that I need to know most about CPR? Because oftentimes you see these compressions going on and you think, oh my gosh, I'm going to break somebody's ribs. What is it that I'm getting wrong that I need to dispel? And then what is it that I need to take up so that I actually get it right?
Even if you break somebody's ribs, that is okay. That is not going to kill them. The cardiac arrest, the no pulse, the no heartbeat is what we are trying to correct.
Mm-hmm.
So what we at the Heart and Stroke do through our courses, obviously, is to teach you how to do CPR correctly so that you don't break ribs. But even if you do break a rib, it's okay. But we want to teach you how to do the CPR correctly, and not to be afraid. Mm-hmm. Never to be afraid, and also to remember to activate the emergency response system, i.e. to call 511. So it's a course where we teach you how to do everything so that you have an effective outcome for your victim.
And that's good because, I mean, the loved one, the relative, the friend, that's who is within close proximity of the person who's having this cardiac failure. You're the first intervention. And so knowing CPR is so critical. So what lessons, what opportunities are available for folks through the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Barbados for us to come and know more and know better how to apply CPR when required to do so?
Right. So because October is our CPR month and we're focusing on CPR, we have specials for the courses that we teach. So the Heart Saver course is the course that we recommend for laypersons who are not healthcare providers. And normally that course is $150, but for the month of October, it's a special price of $135. And for that course, you will receive instruction, you will receive a manual, and you'll receive a card issued from the American Heart Association, because the Heart and Stroke Foundation is an international center under the American Heart Association. So you're being certified by a recognized body. And with those life-saving skills, you are fully now equipped to save a life.
Indeed. Do you get the sense that almost in every public space there's somebody who is adequately trained to be able to respond? Or how important is it too to have someone in the house, in your particular house, knowing how to apply CPR?
I would have to say, honestly, we do not have that level of CPR alertness that we would like. And that is why we designate the month of October to focus and to stress. The mandate of the Heart and Stroke Foundation is such that we want every member of at least one person in each household to know CPR.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen over Barbados, there are very few centers in Barbados that have an automated external defibrillator, which is called an AED, which is life-saving and works in conjunction with doing CPR. So we want to build that level of awareness, both to corporate Barbados, both to the public, both to family members, that the importance of CPR.
And having built that awareness and understood the importance, we want to move now to action, to actually learn the skill of CPR and to have at least one person within your organization or one person within your household know best how to apply CPR. And that's where the training with the Heart and Stroke Foundation, through the Heart and Stroke Foundation, is going to be so very critical. How long is a course? So, you know, people like to plan their time a plot. So they're figuring, okay, so if I do this, how many weeks would I be engaged in learning this, and how quickly can I reach certification?
Pearson, it's amazingly simple. It's a one-day course.
Oh.
So we start at 8:30 and by 3:30 we're finished, because the instructors at the Heart and Stroke are so efficient that they can deliver an entire certified course under the American Heart Association in one day. And you now have your card and you're certified to go forth and to practice CPR if and when the occasion arises.
To go forth and sin no more. So to get it right indeed. I like that. It just takes a day. It literally just takes a day.
To do a procedure that can save your family member, your child, your friend.
Indeed.
I mean, it's worth $135.
It is indeed worth it. It's a very affordable figure. Now, having done it today and I'm certified today, do I need to come back for refreshers? And if so, how often should I upskill myself?
Yes, the card is valid for 2 years. So we encourage you to come back in 2 years' time. Actually, the admin assistant will give you a little gentle reminder that your card has now expired, and we encourage you to come back to recertify. Usually the recertification course may last the entire day, and it could be maybe half a day where we just go back through the important points to consolidate what you would have learned before.
So folks, I want to encourage you to really pick up the skill of applying CPR. And if anyone watching today is so moved to join the classes, how can they do so?
Okay, so you can call the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Barbados. The number is 437-3312. And you can speak to Miss Marsha Gill. She's the admin assistant. And she will book you into the soonest Heart Saver course. We do Heart Saver nearly every day. So there's always a course available. And we have and she could tell you the days of the specials so that you can get your little discount and feel good about that.
And that's the whole point, to feel good about it, but to feel good knowing that you now have the skill set to save someone's life. And that someone could very well be your child, your sister, brother, mother, father, friend, even colleague at work. It is so critical, part of that upskilling of oneself. So I think it's important. You mentioned a number 511 as well while we were talking earlier. What's that number leading to?
Right. So when you come upon someone who's unresponsive or who doesn't have a pulse or doesn't have a blood pressure, you need to get help. You need to activate the emergency response system so that even though you're starting CPR, you know advanced training, advanced help is on the way to continue to take over from you, because obviously CPR is a very tiring procedure. And you're going to need someone who is fully trained to continue the good work that you started. So calling the emergency ambulance service, alerting them to what it is that you have, what it is that you found, what it is that you're doing, will get the ambulance there as soon as feasibly possible to transfer that patient to hospital to continue the resuscitation efforts which you admirably started.
It is so important to know, how to read a pulse, how to get a heart rate, to know all of those things, and then how to apply the compression so that the heart keeps pumping as well. Dr. Cruikshank, this is so critical. I want to encourage everyone, look at the numbers on your screens, ladies and gentlemen, all over the world, 437-3312, 437-3312, or you can send an email to hsfbarbados.com. And sign up as a group, as an individual, as just someone who cares to be a part of these life-changing courses that are going to be offered by all part of cardiac care with the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Barbados. Dr. Anne-Marie Cruikshank, thank you so much for joining us this morning to inspire us of the need for us to know more about CPR and to encourage us also to get to know how to apply CPR as well. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, two persons, for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Indeed, you're welcome indeed. Morning Barbados will continue right after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Before we meet our first exceptional young person this morning, we just want to remind you that healthy living, healthy lifestyle is so absolutely critical. Reduction in the amount of sugar you use is going to be critical to your lifestyle change. Consuming more water is going to be absolutely critical to your lifestyle change. And if you have any further queries at all about how you can actually do that, you can go to the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Barbados to get to know more, as we encourage children to reduce the amount of sugar they consume as well. All part of the Childhood Obesity Campaign. Call the Heart and Stroke Foundation. Look at the numbers on your screen: 437-3312, 437-3312, 437-3312. The change starts with each of us, and so we encourage all of you to be a part of the change by calling the Heart and Stroke Foundation, 437-3312, but most of all, love your children by looking very carefully at what they consume and being mindful of what they consume, how that impacts on their obesity and their general overall health as well. So we encourage you here at the CBC to be a part of the change. All right, time for us to meet this exceptional young person. Her name is Abigail Johnson. She's part of the Hay Parliament. She's one of the Hay ambassadors. Abigail, good morning to you.
Hi, good morning. How are you doing?
I am doing so well. You went to Milan, Italy. And how was that?
It was a phenomenal experience, truthfully. It really taught me a lot of things pertaining to negotiation and even how small island developing states are viewed on the international platforms, and how we have to fight 2 or even 3 times as hard to ensure that our voices are heard and that everything that happens is representative of us and our problems.
So it wasn't easy, was it?
It definitely was not.
So what did you guys do yourself? I know you had with you Lashley, Miss Lashley as well, to be able to agitate on behalf of young people. What did you do so that you can get at least someone's ears pricked for them to hear more about how we as small and developing states are impacted by climate change?
Okay, so the first 2 days of the conference was dedicated to working in your working groups, and the working group that I was a part of was sustainable recovery, and more specifically my subthematic area was adaptation and resilience. And the last day was when you would have basically presented the points that you would have came up with in your working groups to some of the environmental ministers that were present, that would have been attended the pre-COP event in Italy later in that the couple of days after in October, and some of the ones who will actually be attending COP26 in Glasgow, Scotland at the beginning of November.
And so did you get a sense that in working as a collaboration of young people, that you're all on the same page?
I believe you're all on the same page in terms of wanting to fight the climate crisis and wanting to really get better for ourselves. We want to differ from what others wanted, but it was tedious, but I think we got the task accomplished. We accomplished the task.
So what's the next steps now? What are the next steps coming out of that experience there in Milan?
So truthfully, just to further agitate the change and just bring about the conversation surrounding what we need, not just as in sense of Barbados, but as in the Caribbean, in specific relation to the conversation surrounding adaptation. We in climate change poses a significant threat, if it is not the greatest threat to sustainable development, and we in the Caribbean are 7 times as likely to be impacted by the effects of a natural disaster than larger states, and twice as likely than smaller states. And if you look at the reality is that we have this system that continues to victimize victims. We don't have access and ease of accessibility to funding for adaptation. And because of our classifications, some of our classifications as middle and high income countries, we find it especially hard. So one of the things I would like to see coming out of the COP26 negotiations is an increased accessibility for adaptation funding for the Caribbean SIDS, and emphasis on Caribbean. And I know we are generally classed with Latin America and the Caribbean, but when you really look at the statistics, less than 10% of the funding that goes to Latin America and the Caribbean comes to the Caribbean region. So we need that access, and oftentimes these natural disasters, the impact that they have on our GDP is so substantial. It can range from 5 to 30%, and oftentimes they're outliers. If you look at Hurricane Maria that affected Dominica in 2017, that costed them 225% of their GDP. If you look at Hurricane Irma in 2017 that affected Antigua and Barbuda, the World Bank estimated that that was about 155 million in loss and damages and 222 million in recovery. And the reality is that they are still recovering. And the accessibility that they would have had to procure funding to aid with that was limited and very subpar. So I believe that that is one of the major conversations that needs to be had when we approach COP26, and more so also loss and damages.
For those watching the older ones, they're saying, yo, this little girl on TV talking to me like that. Do you get that often, and how do you feel about that?
Truthfully, you do get that often. you do get a lot of pushback. I think oftentimes because the effects of climate change, they're not like, say, like if you think about COVID, it's not something that happens instantaneously. You see it down the line. You see the relation or the correlation more so between your actions, maybe 5, 10, 15 years down the line. Persons are not encouraged to act, or persons are not encouraged to act now. However, we need that action now, and I think it's very important for youth participation and youth inclusion. And I think that is why more young persons are coming up, because the decisions that we make today are going to impact the future that we have down the line. So we cannot wait until the future comes for us to then say we should have done this and we should have done that. The time to act is now. The time to act is today, more so yesterday.
Yes. The other young people who grow up and say, you know, I hear you, I just want to be out there running around in the sun. I just want to know that I can go to the beach and that I can breathe the air that's all around me. Leave that to them. What do you say to young people today who seemingly have little time for any discussion on climate change and how climate change is impacting their lives?
One thing I would say is that when persons generally think of climate change, and yes, there is large action that needs to be taken from the international communities and even governments, there is some sense of individual responsibility and individual action that can be taken. You can try to live a life where you create zero waste. You can try to use less water while you shower, maybe turn off the lights if you're not using them. Just simple things like that can actually assist. And I mean, you may not, this change may be incremental, but little change can add up. Drops of water can add up to a large glass.
Yes.
So don't be discouraged by the fact that what you're doing may not be substantial or it may not be sufficient, but it does contribute, and it does contribute positively.
Abigail, you're only 20 years old, quite young. What is it about you, your experience, your condition around you that got you so inspired to be a part of the Hay Parliament One and to agitate so strongly for climate change?
So I think I really got involved with climate change. Well, the first cohort of the Hay campaign with a focus on the correlation between climate change and health. And as a medical student, the impact on health and the impact that climate change has on health is very substantial, and it's often not talked about. Persons may only think about respiratory illnesses, but you don't think about the fact that persons die from flooding, or persons die from infrastructure that is not resilient falling on them after a hurricane. So I think that just when you see these things and you witness these things, you can't sit back and continue to see it happening and do nothing. And I think that is what encouraged me to not just change the way how I move in relation to things, but change the way I act and advocate for better, because we deserve better.
You know, so how are you rubbing off on other young people like yourself at university where you're doing medicine? How are they being inspired by what you're doing, Abigail?
So I'm hoping that persons, when they see messages such as these and they hear it, they're inspired to take action within their own lives. They're inspired to tell a friend, they're inspired to tell a parent, and that this can all contribute towards positive action and positive growth. But one of the things I'm also hoping that it inspires young persons to do is to speak out, regardless of color, religion, socioeconomic standing. Speak out about the things that are affecting you. Speak out about the matters that are affecting you. Because oftentimes young persons are invited to conversations, or we sometimes have a seat at the table, but our voices are not heard. But when we come together as a group and there is strength in numbers. So I hope that my action encourages others to act.
Indeed, that you can roar as loudly as you ought to roar. So what do you do for fun, Abigail? You're yeah, I can see what's behind you. Your lion is marching right there behind you. So what is it that you do just for fun?
I like reading. I haven't actually gotten the opportunity to read in a very long while, but I also like eating. I really like to eat. So I try to go out with my friends a bit and maybe just get a meal and just spend some, and then also spend some time to myself, just have some downtime, just so that I can reflect and really just think back of what I've done and how I can improve myself as well. But reading, going out with and just some downtime by myself.
And the eating, no doubt, brings you tremendous pleasure.
Oh yes, how can I forget that?
What is it that you like to eat most?
Anything as long as it tastes good, honestly.
You're not picky. Fair enough, Abigail. I love it. But your passion for what you do, your passion for the climate change that you want to see, and your passion for wanting all of us really to join in the fight against what we're doing to our own environment is so heartwarming. And so this morning we want to salute you as one of our exceptional young people. You're continuing to travel the globe and you're making a tremendous difference. Keep that up, Abigail Johnson. Thank you so much for joining us.
And thank you.
You're very welcome. Abigail Johnson is her name. She's part of the Hay Parliament. She's one of the Hay ambassadors, and she's actually the Prime Minister in the Hay Parliament, but continuing to agitate for climate change, as we all should. We're going to take a break here, and when we're back with more on Morning Barbados.
Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It is 7 o'clock in Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. Let's get the news now. Here is Wendy Burke.
For the second consecutive day, Barbados has registered 300 or more new positive COVID-19 cases. Monday, there were 318, and now there were 300 on Tuesday. 125 males and 175 females identified by the Bestel Santos Public Health Laboratory. Those came out of 2,349 tests that were conducted. The new cases comprise 50 people under the age of 18. There are now 803 people in isolation facilities. This figure does not include those who are isolating at home. Meanwhile, the National Vaccination Program has seen 139,644 receiving first doses and another 108,963 people who are fully vaccinated. Tourism Minister Senator Lisa Cummins says the actions its people take will determine what happens to the tourism industry. She was reacting to the United States' recent Level 4 travel advisory against Barbados as a result of the current COVID-19 situation. Speaking in the Senate yesterday during debate on the Constitution Amendment Bill, Senator Cummins said the United States is a sovereign nation and has the right to make decisions in its interests. However, she made it clear that looking for external validation for what would affect local tourism is not where the country is. Senator Cummins pointed to what would stop tourists from coming to Barbados.
The United States travel advisory is not going to stop travelers from coming to Barbados. Barbados going to republicanism is not going to stop travelers from coming to Barbados. The appointment of a president is not going to stop travelers from coming to Barbados. What is going to stop travelers from coming to Barbados is when they call a hotel or a villa to make a reservation and they are vaccinated, they're tested, and they're quarantined, and they're being told that they're being attended to by workers who are neither. That is a decision made by our hands.
In sports, Chennai Super Kings have named Barbados' all-rounder Dominic Drakes as injured Sam Curran's replacement for the remainder of the IPL. Curran was ruled out of the ongoing IPL and the upcoming Men's T20 World Cup with a lower back injury. Drakes, who was with Mumbai Indians as a net bowler in the UAE, will join Super Kings, who have qualified for the playoffs ahead of their last league match against Punjab Kings. Wickets and has scored 153 runs at a strike rate of 159.37. And that's it for news this afternoon. It's now back over to you, Cassian.
You see that? You see that? You see that? Thank you, Clotilda. Have a great day. It's now 4 minutes after the hour of 7 o'clock. We're coming right back after this with more on Morning Barbados.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we are at 5 minutes after the hour of 7 o'clock. Just want to quickly remind you that all week next week, Monday to Friday, keep watching for spotting of that pink ribbon. You get a chance to win with the breast screening program. Remember, every single day, there's going to be a new location. You need to identify that location. And of course, you need to be specific. On Monday, it is this place, Tuesday, and so on every day. Note all of them down, and then you submit your email at the end of the week So don't submit every day. You submit your email at the end of the week. So watch every day, note the location for each day, be very specific, and then you submit at the end of the week. So we're looking forward to some fun with you from next week, starting on Monday, right through to Friday. So keep watching. You don't know when it's going to pop up, so just keep watching every day, every minute, starting Monday. All right, it's time for today's Crumbs question of the day. The sound effects are ready, you better believe it, because we got a question for you. The numbers to call are 228-5562 or 228-5563. You ready for this, folks? Here comes today's Crumbs question of the day. That question is, Baxter's Road was named after an acting Attorney General of Barbados. What was his name? Don't growl at me, don't do that. Baxter's Road was named after an acting Attorney General of Barbados. What was his name? Or 228-5563. So what was his name? After, in other words. So Baxter's Road was named after an acting Attorney General. What was his name? 228-5562 or 228-5563. Maybe you're old enough to remember. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're history buff. Maybe you're not. Maybe you know how to research. Maybe you don't. But you give me a call if you think you know the answer. 228-5562 or 63. Let's get it rolling. Good morning. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Hi, how are you today?
Not too bad.
Oh, then you're doing well. Where are you watching us from?
St. Michael.
St. Michael, and what's your answer for me?
I just going with John Baxter.
You're just going with that?
Mm-hmm.
Why John and not Pearson Baxter? Talk to me. Why not Pearson? But, Pearson isn't cute enough. The name Pearson is not cute enough.
Back in the day, I don't think they had too many Pearsons.
Fair enough. No, ma'am, no. Give us that sound effect. You're wrong, but thanks for trying, all right? No, it's not John Baxter. So keep calling, folks. 228-5562 or 228-5563. Baxter's Road after an acting Attorney General of Barbados. What was his name, though? Not John Baxter. 228-5562 or 228-5563. Yeah, some other name just popped into my head, but anyway. 228-5562 or 63. Good morning, hello.
Yeah, morning, Mr. Pearson, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. How are you?
Not bad. I still
Good man.
I'm still getting to my rehab, but you know.
You're pressing on. That's what's most important. You're pressing on.
Yeah.
So, buddy, what's your answer for me?
I ain't saying, I call him no John. I say Mr. Baxter.
You're going to give me a first name. They had several Mr. Baxters. give me a first name. What do you think that first name was?
Your first name?
Yeah.
Like
a name of the sky.
John. George Baxter.
George Baxter? Yeah. Not a bad first name, but that's not the one I'm looking for. All right? Thank you, buddy. Thank you so much. Let's go again. 228-5562 or 63. Baxter's Road was named after an acting Attorney General of Barbados. What was Baxter's name? Baxter's. After who was it named? Morning. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Where are you watching from?
Christchurch.
Christchurch. What's your answer for me?
Stephen Baxter.
Nope. That's not Stephen at all. It wasn't Stephen. It wasn't Stephen at all. 228-5562 or 228-5563. Let's keep those calls rolling. Who do you think Baxter's Road was named after? So Baxter's Road was named after an acting Attorney General of Barbados. What was his name? What was his name? Not Stephen, not George, not John. Phone call. Good morning. Hello. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, where are you watching from?
Wellington Street.
Wellington Street is in what parish, ma'am?
Bridgetown, St. Michael.
Oh, is in Bridgetown, St. Michael. Yes, and what's your answer for me?
I think it's Percival.
It's who?
Percival.
Where you found that answer?
I look it up.
Look it up. What were you? Tell me seriously. Where did you look?
I googled it.
You googled And when you Googled, what did you put in to search?
That's why you asked the question I asked.
So tell me, what did you put in?
I put in Baxter's role was named after which Governor General of Barbados.
Or which Governor General of Barbados?
Yes, yes.
My question is, Baxter's Road was named after an acting Attorney General of Barbados. Yeah, put in the wrong search, in other words. So you're dead wrong. Thanks, yeah? Percival, but what a nice name, Percival. Let's take another one quick. 228-5562, 228-5563. You guys give me immense fun on the morning with this, so I love it. Good morning, hello.
Good morning.
Hi, where are you watching from?
St. George.
Ah, St. George. What's your answer?
I'm guessing Henry Baxter.
You're guessing?
Yes.
Why did you go for Henry? Again, why didn't you go for Pearson?
No, because Henry is an all-time name.
Pearson is not.
No.
This name has been around for centuries, madam, I'll have you know. But you're not right with Henry either.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you for trying. Can we take one more? Because time is going up against us, I know. But can we take one more, please? Yeah. Hi. Morning. Hello. Oh, 228-5562 or 63. They're going to put the call through to me in just a minute. 228-5562 or 63. Baxter's Road was named after an acting Attorney General of Barbados. What was his name? What was his name? Not Henry. Not George. Not Percival. Not John. I could go through. Morning. Hello.
Hi. Good morning.
Hi. You have an answer for me. But what parish are you watching us from?
Christchurch.
All right. Let's go. What's your answer?
Thomas.
Don't ask me questions. I want an
Thomas
answer.
Baxter.
Where did you get that name from?
Google.
From who?
Google.
Never met them in my life. But nevertheless, that's where you went. And what did you put in your search of Google?
I put Attorney General Barbados and put Baxter in the search as well.
Ah, and that's what came up for you?
Yes, please.
And you believe what Google showed?
100%.
Oh, you have that kind of faith and trust in Google? Google has never let you down?
No, please.
Do you have Alexa as well?
No, please.
Oh, okay, fair enough. You know what? I'm being generous today. What shall we do, fellas, in the back, in the production crew? Sound effect. Sound effect. Possibly. Ah, there you go. You're absolutely right.
Thank you.
It was indeed Thomas Baxter. He was born in 1699. He died in 1749. Thomas Baxter is the man after whom Baxter's Road is named. Thank you so much, ma'am. Stay on the phone.
Okay,
Don't
thank
put down. You're welcome. Congratulations to her from Christchurch. Indeed, she's absolutely right in correctly answering today's Crumbs question of the day. Oh, more fun tomorrow when we have another question. After this, and more of our exceptional young people.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
17 minutes now after the hour of 7 o'clock, another one of our really exceptional young people will join us now, who was the youngest to sit the recently held 11 plus exam. So therefore she is the youngest to enter secondary school. And she's going to Harrison College, would you believe it? Her name is Leanne Evanson. Good morning to you, Leanne. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on achieving all of your goals. You're following in the footsteps of your parents and your siblings as well. That must feel fantastic.
It really does.
Now, I read your story and I was told at 2 years old, if you can remember all the way back then, I mean, you're so old now, you're 9. If you can remember being 2, you said, I had enough of day nursery. Do you remember saying that?
I feel like I've said it, but
It sounds like you, right?
it really does.
And then at 3, you couldn't wait to get into primary school. And ever since then, that's been your life, just forging your way through life very quickly. How was the 11 plus for you?
Honestly, it was a lot easier than I had expected.
A lot easier than you were. So what did you expect?
I expected it to be a bit harder than a regular test paper, but just a bit easier.
So it felt like a regular test paper to you, right?
You could say so.
You say so. And so at 9 years old, you are at Harrison College. How has it been now? I know you have not been able to go physically to the school compound, but how has it been while online, engaging with the other students and knowing that you are the youngest of the bunch?
So far, it has been great.
Do you feel challenged at all by those who are also in your class?
Not at all.
Not at all. So how do you feel about education? Talk to me. What do you see education to be today? You're 9 years old, so I want your view on it.
I see education as being one of the many things in life that you can both enjoy or you cannot like it, but it is very important so you can keep moving.
And so from very young, you kept moving. You went to Wilkie Cumberbatch, and now you went to St. Philip Primary as well. Which of those 2 schools did you like most?
It would have to be St. Philip.
Why?
Well, it was just a better school.
But what about it made it so much better than your previous schools?
Well, everyone was... For one, it wasn't as loud.
So what? Go ahead. It was just so good. You just quite enjoyed your time there. So when you got the results, when you heard the results of the Common Interest exam and you heard your name being mentioned as one of the top students on the island at the time, how did that make you feel?
I felt really good in that moment. I felt you did.
I want to hear about the celebration. How did you guys at home celebrate?
We had a feast.
A feast?
Full-on feast.
So what was on the menu for the feast?
We had some pancakes, some meats. We had shrimp, fish, we had chicken. We had a lot of things.
You went big. You really went big. You really had a feast indeed. But you also did very well with your composition. Who wrote My Life as a Pencil? Was that you?
Yes, it was.
So do you have it with you there?
I do, actually.
Could you read it for us? I want everyone to hear, because I was so riveted when I read it myself. I wanted to know more and hope that you will make this a book. So could you read for us your composition, My Life as a Pencil?
Just a moment.
Sure, she'll pull it up right now. You know how they are with the gadgets. There she is, little 9-year-old Leanne. Leanne is so intelligent. Leanne Evanson, she's a student of Harrison College. Just say to me when you have it, Leanne, when you're ready for me. Are you ready now?
Yes, please.
Okay, here we go. My Life as a Pencil.
How I hate my life. I started out as a majestic, tall beauty. I was nestled comfortably among my family in a small box from which every night we could see the dim stars and every morning clap in joy at the rising sun. I used to live a happy life until one day something happened that changed me forever. We were bought. I remember the time like it was just yesterday, even though it has been 2 months. Abruptly, our home was gripped roughly, and for a few moments all we could see was stars. Then, we were thrown into something that had bars like a jail cell. My heart slammed into my ribs in a repeating pattern, as though it wanted to be helped. I didn't want to make my children scared, so I put on a confident smile. "We will be fine," I said, but the horror had just begun. Only 2 days later, we were moved again. Our house's ceiling was picked up and thrown away, like it was just plastic. We were thrown out into a dark enclosure. Many others, just like us, were already in there, but they looked terrible. "Run away," they cried. Confusion gripped us as we stared at the others. All of a sudden, I heard a shrill cry. I looked up just in time to see my only child's head be put in a large torch machine. I tried to call to her, but it was too late. My daughter was gone. It continued like this for weeks. Each year, a new pencil was sentenced to the machine. Not even the elderly were spared. Finally, it was just me and one other. The dreadful light folded once more, and the pale hands reached out, going towards the other. However, I jumped in front of him and was grabbed instead. I looked down at the man whom I had saved. His glittering eyes told me he was very friendly. Now here we are. My skin is cut badly from the thick, sharp blade which was in the machine. I stared down into the black abyss, which I had seen multiple times. Then, the grip on my chest was loosened, and I found myself falling. As I fell, I promised myself in my next life I would be a pen.
Leanne, that is such a beautiful essay. My life as a pencil. And as I said, I would love to see where else you go when you become a pen. But the imagination to be able to craft it so beautifully. Do you love to write compositions?
I really do. It's
Wow.
actually in my blood.
It's actually...
In my blood.
Wow, that's it's in your blood. So what else do you write about, and how do you get your facility with language? Because you're able to bring in words that are so descriptive and so real. So talk to me about that.
Well, I read quite a bit, so I do learn new things from those, such as the word abyss. And, well, I've written multiple compositions that have just been on lots of topics.
You just love to pour your thoughts out onto paper on many, many subjects as well. I'm told that you're also learning many different languages as well. What languages are you learning?
Well, I'm learning French and Spanish.
That's because of school, or were you doing that before you entered Harrison College?
I was doing it before.
Right. So how conversant are you in French?
I'm not as good at French as I am at Spanish.
Okay, well, French is my preferred language. I know that, fair enough, a lot of people want Spanish, but that's all right. I love French personally. So I want to congratulate you, really. What do you want to be when you eventually move on to the next stage of your education?
Well, I would like to be either an engineer or an architect. But
Those
if I were
two.
to choose, I'd be an architect.
Why those two? Why engineering or architecture?
Because I also like building things.
Wow. Leanne Evanson, Thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on all you've been able to achieve thus far at 9 years old, and you still have a lot of life ahead of you. So we know you're going to continue to astound us by your outstanding achievements. So we're looking forward to great things and perhaps even greater things from you. I want you to keep writing because something tells me you're going to be a fantastic novelist. Your creativity and your compositions blow me away. So keep that skill set going as well. So we're looking forward to your book, I Want to Be Alive, when you launch it out really, really soon, all right?
Thank you.
You're very welcome. You're one of our exceptional young people. Keep it up. Well done. All right. Morning Barbados continues right after this. Our next exceptional youth is the Chief Executive Officer, sounds great, doesn't it, of Golden Transport Inc., former student of the St. Michael's School. His name is Javon Mon. Good morning to you, Javon Mon.
Hi, good morning, Mr. Boyne.
Good to have you on the show this morning with us, Javon, Chief Executive Officer. Oh, how does that sound in your ears?
It sounds normal. It's just something that I always wanted attached to my name.
Why did you want to have the title CEO attached to your name?
It's in my DNA actually, because my dad, I followed him when I was younger, and his drive for business is just something that I just go with.
So you followed your father's passion. Did your father's passion also lead you into owning your company, Golden Transport Inc., or is he pursuing a different passion?
Correct. Because, how to put it, he worked really hard, and seeing what he did, and me just going to school and learning, he provided everything for me to just get the basics. So eventually I just learned that this is what I wanted to do, this is what I'm about, and it started from there.
What does it say to you about what you're doing now?
How do you mean?
You're owning your own business. Is he happy with how you're progressing? What is he giving? Still give you advice? What is he saying to you?
Every day. I go to him almost every day, probably every minute, every day, just to get advice. Even before I make decisions, I just try to get his input, because he's more experienced than I am, and having a dad like that around you means a lot. So basically, I learn. He actually tells me to learn from his mistakes. So that's one thing that I make sure that I do.
You know, Javon, you're very lucky. You're very lucky to have that kind of relationship with your father, to the point where you can turn to him every day with any kind of decision you have to make and lean on his input. You're very lucky. I hope you understand that, right?
I know.
Oh, good man, good man. Well. So, you're in the transportation business. You could have chosen to be in anything because you went on to do a bachelor's degree in accounting and finance. But you're in the transportation business. So talk to me about that.
again, that stems from my dad. So from since I had my driver's license, he made me drive. And it just started with me. Like, I love to be on the road. And being on the road is made me feel at home. So again, that's how I got into the transportation business.
So he says, well, you could drive, you love being on the road, why not own your own transportation business, right? And then
Correct.
thereafter,
Correct.
the idea was blossomed. And so what is it that you do at Golden Transport Inc.?
Currently, we offer car rental services, we offer chauffeur services, and freighting services.
So you offer all of those services. You started with one vehicle and now you own multiple vehicles as well. The cost of doing business and setting up the business, how did you manage yourself through that? Because you're very young, you're still 25 years old.
It's amazing I did it at such a young age. Every day I still question myself how I managed to get so far, but it showed me consistent and persistent.
Consistency
because as an entrepreneur,
go ahead.
As an entrepreneur, it's very difficult to obtain financing and stuff behind your business.
Yeah, I could imagine, just getting your feet in there. And so being able to build awareness and credibility so that people can rely on you. How were you able to get your name out there, your company out there so that people know you exist and that you're reliable?
We use mainly social media, but in the beginning I did a lot of free work, as you say.
Yes.
Just to get my name out there. My main thing is customer service. As long as my customers are right, or correct, or happy, or comfortable, then anything else can go from there.
What are you learning about yourself in all of this, Javon? What do you learn more about you as a human being, about your character, about the things that you believe? What have you learned?
It's how I manage situations in a moment. But before, when I first started, I would get angry, I would get depressed, when things aren't going your way. But eventually, it just comes like normal. You just know how to manage stuff.
As an entrepreneur, you wake up every day not knowing, and because you don't know, you have to get up and go get. So how is it waking up? How is it creating different avenues of revenue? How is it trying to figure out where else do I take the business? Because you've been operating since 2017. It's now 4 years or so. And so helping the business to grow, even though incrementally. How has that, in your own head, how has that been for you?
Every day is just a gamble. You don't know what to expect. Honestly, you don't know. So some days you will have great days, and then some days just really bad days. But at the end of it, you're just supposed to keep going, no matter what.
But a lot of young people can become a little bit impatient. They want to see results now. And in the world in which we live, where everything is so fast-paced, there are young men who are just anxious to see that tree become a big tree, having just only planted it yesterday. Same thing with business. So what lessons would you like to share with other young men, your age in particular, who are too impatient and not prepared to put in the time to water what it is that they want to do?
To be honest, I was like that before. I was very impatient. But it's more about the journey rather than the destination. As you say, like, it builds character. So you get to know more about yourself. So it's basically be more patient rather than just trying to get it now. Because you can learn a lot on your journey. So
you learn there's a lot of self-discovery for real. But I suppose because of your degree in accounting and finance, managing the monies became a whole lot easier for you.
Correct.
Now, for a lot of people, that's the difficult part of the business, being able to manage the finances, to know how much to pay yourself, and to know how much to further invest as well. So for anyone watching today who wants to get involved in business, what's your best advice? Any young person?
Well, it depends on the person. For me, I make sure the business is right. It's like, regards to reinvesting, they're supposed to sustain me for the rest of my life. So if we take the money and they spend it on me personally, then I'm taking away from the business. Not saying that you shouldn't spend on yourself, but you limit what you spend on yourself, but have more money to reinvest in the business.
Reinvestment is critical. We would have just shared with folks on the screen ways of contacting you. He's Golden Transport Inc. He's the Chief Executive Officer. He's available too on Instagram, goldentransport.bb. goldentransport.bb. You can access the services there. He's doing a whole host of work in freighting, car rental, chauffeur services, a range of services by Javon Mon, 25 years old, already controlling his own business, already in control of his destiny. Javon, for that, we salute you as one of our exceptional young people today and forevermore. We wish you only the very best going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
You're very welcome. Javon Mon, Chief Executive Officer of Golden Transport Inc. We're coming back with more right after this. 21 minutes to go to 8 o'clock this Exceptional Youth Thursday. Our next exceptional youth is one who is dabbling and doing a business that, let me tell you, would make some of you adults' skin crawl. Her name is Tahira Payne. She is a managing funeral director of Bereavement Care Funerals. Good morning, Tahira.
Hi, good morning, sir.
You heard what I just said, right? Listen, big men would cower at what you do because you're engaging at a very sensitive time for a lot of people, but still you're dealing with our dearly departed. What got you started in all of this?
For me, it was personal. It started in 2018 when I lost someone really close to me. My mom didn't know how to deal with it, and I decided that I needed to search within, see how I felt, and how I want others to feel going forward. And that's the reason what got me into it. And plus with everything else that I have underneath my belt, like cosmetology services, I have a passion for sciences and pathology as well. I decided to further my knowledge and to go further into it.
As they would say, a pretty girl at you. There you are dealing with death day in, day out. So how do you save your soul at the end of the day? Because, it can't be easy.
The first thing I do is I take a deep breath when dealing with the family because everybody breathes differently. For me, every situation is different. And it is just composure. And I always try to put myself in the family situation.
Now, you're already celebrating your first anniversary. October the 1st was the marking of that particular anniversary. So it's a year on now for the business. How has it been going? What are your lessons of success that you'd like to share?
Thank you very much for asking that question. Yes, it has been a year, but it has also been a very good year. Along the way, you will have your challenges because you know that live in an environment or in a society that will take to who the family will be accustomed to who they usually take their loved one to the funeral home. So for someone like me being new into the industry and persons having that much faith in me, it says a lot. However, I have been in the industry for over 5 years now, and I started off working as a funeral home assistant with Tucson Funeral Home. I'm still very much connected with them, and along the way, I still ask questions because I don't know everything.
Indeed, indeed. Has age and gender, have either of them been a part of your experience as you try to convince people that you are credible, that you are competent, and that you are efficient enough to be able to do what you have to do? I'd love to be able to hear your response on that, Tahira. How do you deal with age and gender in the face of your competition in the business?
That's a ticklish question, Pearson. However, in response to that, age and gender, we know that this industry has always been a male-dominating one. But throughout the years, you would have seen women going into the industry. However, you have not seen persons around my age that would have gone into the industry. And I think another reason for me going into this industry as well is to open up doors for those young persons who would also be learning cosmetology and sciences and would want to go into the industry.
So you're trailblazing for a lot of other young women yourself. Yeah. So for those, I'm going to use the term again, those pretty girls who just want to walk around and flash, what advice would you give to them about the business that you're in and just to the benefits of really engaging the services that you offer?
You have to have compassion, and you must be able to communicate because it's a very sensitive nature that you're dealing with. So having the look, but not having, the mentality and everything like that behind it, it paints a big picture for persons out there. You just can't say because I look this sort of way, I want to go into the funeral industry. No. You also need a lot of knowledge. I wouldn't say that I know everything because I don't. Like I said, along the way, I still ask questions where I don't know. So what I will say to them is get yourself some knowledge and have the experience, because hands-on experience along with certification and everything like that goes a really long way.
You previously would have provided services. Now you're managing. Yeah. It's all at you now, Tahira. How has it been for you in making that transition from being the employee to now being the employer?
I would have watched how my employer dealt with me and the communication, and along the way, I would have gained some of his skills and the way how he handles situations. And also being an educator, I teach in secondary school, cosmetology at the Pedro Smith Secondary School. The two of those and the understanding of what business is about, would give me that insurance that, I want employees to feel how I felt, and as an employer, I want persons to know that the business is about customer service, it is about communication, it is about death care, it is about making my families feel comfortable and to know that they are left with a love and a memory that no one can steal.
That is such a beautiful mantra indeed. I was going to call your age, but your students may be watching. Sometimes.
Don't do that, please.
I know. That's why I'm not going to do it. Because I know they hold on to these things that they can haunt you with it.
Yes,
but you're still very young. She's still very young, folks. And that's the beauty of the whole thing, because that's what we love to celebrate here on a Thursday morning on Morning Barbados. Young people doing tremendous work. how it's been a year on in this business, managing what you do as your business. What's your long-term, medium or long-term plan for the business?
My long-term plan for the business is to empower young people to come into the business as well. Those who I will be teaching or who I would have taught that had an interest in deaf care, to be the person that they can rely on for support and also offer apprenticeship. Because you have to look at it this way, there are persons who would want to get into the deaf care industry. However, financially, it is not pocket wise for them. You have to go overseas to learn it, and there is no sort of courses or anything like that in Barbados that offers it. So if I can give those students who want to come up in the deaf care industry that support and guidance going forward, I am willing to do so.
That's brilliant. We're in the midst of a pandemic as well. Management of deaths as a consequence of COVID-19 and caring for that. How has that been? What is your service offer?
It has not been an easy one. It would have.
I know.
It's very emotional for me to speak about it. At the end of the day, some of the families don't get that comforting few minutes because, of the situation. They don't want to have any part of the virus. Even though you need a living host, you still need to be mindful of everything else that goes on health-wise. It's very emotional. But one thing I can say to you, Pearson, is that regardless of the situation, I try to make my family as comfortable as possible.
Tahira Payne, I want to thank you for joining us today. Tahira Payne is the Managing Funeral Director of Bereavement Care Funerals. Note the name, Bereavement Care Funerals. You see the passion that she has for her service, and so she's prepared to receive your call at any given time. Bereavement Care Services. You can find them on Facebook. You can find them in your phone book, and you can give Tahira Payne a call if you need that kind of compassion, that care when you're dealing with the death of a loved one. And that's what Bereavement Care Funerals offers. Thank you so much, Tahira Payne, for joining us as one of our exceptional young people. And students watching, she is young. Believe me, ma'am is young. Thank you, Tahira. All the best going forward and much success as you celebrate your anniversaries. We've just done the first, but there are many more to come. And we're anxious to really be a part of it with you as well. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much for having me, Pearson.
You are very welcome. Likewise to you. We're coming right back with more on Morning Barbados after this. We have 9 minutes now to go to 8 o'clock. Our next guest, our next exceptional young person is one who's seeking to redefine the way in which Caribbean female lawyers approach their profession. And so she's formed a new 12-week program called the Femme Lex Cohort. She's Gabrielle Gay. Good morning to you, Gabrielle.
Good morning, Pearson. Good morning, Barbados. It is such a pleasure to be here with you once again.
Yes, indeed. Indeed it is. Femme Lex Cohort, because you're bringing together in this cohort a number of female lawyers. Why are you going after the female lawyer, and what are you hoping to achieve by this Femme Lex Cohort?
Okay, so first, to just explain the concept behind it, femme is French for woman. I know you said earlier that you love French, and lex is Latin for law. So essentially, and a cohort, of course, is an esteemed gathering.
Yes.
So essentially, we are bringing together the most promising legal and intellectual minds from across the Caribbean, female, women from small islands, developing states, marginalized and disadvantaged communities, and these types of communities in developed countries as well. And we are in partnership with the Barbados Youth Business Trust, University of the West Indies Law Society, the CARICOM Ambassadors, ILA and partners, one of the largest sustainability and investment firms across the world, to produce this program fully certified. That's what truly sets it apart from all of the mentorship programs on the market and in the education arena, because our goal is to not just prepare these young attorneys and these law students academically, but also to increase their employability by giving them the necessary skills with regards to soft skills like networking, but also the hard skills needed for entrepreneurship, which is extremely critical in this COVID-19 new normal.
Yes. It's a 12-week program, and it's being facilitated by who? So that we get a sense of the level of expertise and importance one can be exposed to in this 12-week program. Who are the lead directors?
So it is facilitated, the course itself is facilitated by the Barbados Youth Business Trust, who have spent over a decade certifying and ensuring that individuals from across the region and the world have their fully certified entrepreneurship skills. These young ladies will be taught how to pitch, how to garner and accrue investment for their law firms, how to partner and have effective corporate partnership, as well as being exposed in our legal luminary sessions to the best in legal, academics, to diplomats, to legal entrepreneurs, and also to student administration as well too, and learn about youth advocacy. So when they graduate and become certified in this program, they're not just going to be fantastic lawyers that we know they will be in the future, but they're also going to be extremely capable and viable entrepreneurs as well.
Right, move to the point of being able to operate their own law firm, set up their own business, already with the requisite skills, but you're also exposing them to the digital sphere so that they can also operate within that. It sounds like a really comprehensive program indeed. Over 12 weeks, that's what you're going to be doing. So who are some of these women who are already a part of the cohort?
Okay, so we have, for example, just calling out some of our students, Iman Wilson, we have Rihanna McGarrell, we have Ria Olivier, and these young ladies are from Guyana, Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So this is not just, localized to Barbados. This is an effort and a program that promotes regionalism, which is extremely key for justice here in the Caribbean, with attorneys and law students from across the diaspora working together, even, taking into context UNCTAD 15 that is currently in session. One of the key takeaways is having that regional effort with regards to justice and jurisprudence, even with like the CCJ courts. This is part of our effort as well, even at this level, to institute these regional efforts. And I do want to take the time out to thank some of our sponsors and partners, such as the Christchurch West Lions Club. They have come together to really work and promote and provide support for this program. The Caribbean Ambassadors, as I mentioned, UB Law Society, Living for Full Consultancy. These are just some of the partners who have worked with us to ensure this course's success. And I also want to mention that is really critical that this is the first of its kind across the entire Caribbean region. So this has truly trailblazed not just for legal education, but for entrepreneurship across the diaspora.
Why are you doing this? Why is it that you, Gabrielle Gay, why are the passion behind this? Why?
So I am a law student, a final year law student at the University of the West Indies, Keephil. So I have an inherent passion to see not only myself, but other young women succeed in the legal sphere. Because we have a very matriarchal society here in Barbados where women lead large. Our prime minister is a woman, our governor general, several ministers of parliament are female. However, we still battle so many different biases within the workplace, even in the legal sphere as well, facing racism as women of color, sexism, women in general, xenophobia, when stepping onto the world stage because we come from small island developing states. So there's such nuances and such critical idiosyncrasies that exist in the Caribbean legal sphere when we go towards the global legal sphere that I felt it imperative and absolutely necessary and mandatory to have such a safe space where young women from the Caribbean and across the world, and because we were not stopping with the Caribbean and across the world, to be able to have as much of an advantageous, step forward when they enter into the legal profession.
Your energy alone draws us in, indeed, Gabrielle Gay. Something tells me this is going to be the start of something fantastic for so many female attorneys at law across the region as well and the world. And you are the best person to lead this charge. Gabrielle?
Thank you. And I would say, definitely, if you want to find out more about the Femlex cohort and all the programs that the Erlin Bradshaw Foundation that we cater to and run, please check out our website, www.Erlin Bradshaw, ERLINE, BradshawFoundation.org.
All right, thanks for that indeed. Gabrielle Gay, all the best. Another one of our exceptional young people this morning. All the best as always. Thank you for coming through. You're welcome. All right, this is where we're going to leave it today. With the inspiration of our young people, let's go out there and do something fantastic today. We look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. For Alicia Alsgrant, our producer, Ruel Ford, our technical director, Christopher Blemon, our sound engineer, and Pearson Bowen. Have yourself a fantastic day. See you tomorrow.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning.